forecast at 26NBC.com.
Live from WAGT, this is NBC 26, News at 5:30.
I saw two brutally murdered corrections officers. That's what I saw. I have their blood on my shoes.
Law enforcement officers across our state and across the nation searching for two escaped inmates they say killed two corrections officers. Good evening, I'm Kelly Wiley. They're armed, dangerous, and on the run. Investigators now say two escaped inmates accused of murdering two correctional officers in Putnam County this morning have broken into a home in Madison and changed into regular clothing. The Department of Corrections says it was transporting more than 30 inmates when Ricky DeBose and Donnie Rowe on your screen overpowered the two officers on the bus, grabbed the officers' guns, and then shot and killed them. This all happened just before 7 this morning near the Putnam and Hancock County line on Highway 16. On your side, Liz Owens has been out there all day. Liz, what's the latest on this search?
Well, hi, Kelly. Things have been quiet here at the sheriff's office for probably the last hour and a half. And the reason you mentioned is that there was a break-in in Madison, and we saw tons of officers, the GBI, FBI, all speed out of here about an hour and a half ago. Now we know that they went to that home in Madison, and there is a huge police presence there right now. We do have a reporter out there gathering information, but that one of those inmates is from Madison. Just wanted to mention that. And again, there was two of the chief there says both those inmates broke into a home, got into civilian clothes, and then left their prison jumpsuits there at that house, and now they're looking for them over in that area. Now, all this started this morning during a prison transport. The Putnam County Sheriff's Office tells us Ricky DeBose and Russell Rose somehow got through a gate inside the correctional bus, and from there they were able to overpower the two officers in the front seat, grab their guns, and then shoot and kill them. Investigators say a driver who lives in the area just happened to stop by that bus. He thought the inmates there were on work detail, so he slowed down, and that's when the sheriff says the two inmates came up to him with the guns and took his car. Agencies across the nation are now looking for that vehicle, a four-door green Honda Civic. The last location we know they were at, again, is in Madison, Georgia, about half an hour from here, and that's where the inmates, the investigators say, broke into a home and stole clothing before taking off again.
As I've said earlier, they need to surrender before we find them.
Can you talk about your initial reaction when you first came on the scene? What did you see? What?
I saw two brutally murdered corrections officers. That's what I saw. I have their blood on my shoes.
The sheriff obviously very emotional. He says he was one of the very first people on that bus and to go up to those officers. A lot of law enforcement here taking this very hard, but they're trying to maintain their composure to find these two inmates. Very dangerous, long criminal records. If you come in contact with them, remember, armed, dangerous, call 911. Don't approach them. Kelly?
And Liz, before you go, one thing that Laura and I were talking about earlier, did the people at that Madison home remember at all what clothing they might have taken? Can they kind of look at what they had and what they didn't have and see what they might have on at this time?
Yeah, Kelly, I don't know. I've been reaching out to the sheriff's office. Obviously, they are in a massive search right now. And because everyone kind of took off from here, we have not been able to just speak.
Thank you, Liz. Well, this story is getting thousands of shares on social media today. Our social media reporter, Jason Raven, joins us now to talk about the impact it's having online.
Well, many of you have been sharing and commenting on our Facebook Live video of the mugshots of the two suspects, for spreading the word to more than 1 million people. And you guys chimed in sharing your thoughts. Mark writes, sad, praying for the families who lost their fathers, sons, husbands, and friends. I also pray for the young men who did this god-awful crime. And Victoria says, glad I saw this. I am home with my two granddaughters, and we are not that far from Sparta. No way I'm letting the girls play in the yard today. And Kelly, coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll talk about the connections to Augusta and North Augusta in this investigation. All
right, thank you, Jason. Kevin, we'll get right to you with weather.
You got it, Kelly. It's a hot one out there today. 90s. We've got a little bit of sunshine out there. Not too humid, though. 92 the high today in Augusta, and we're looking for similar numbers tomorrow. Now, there are a few storms to our north up there in the upstate of South Carolina, stretching into Charlotte. They've got a few storms. Some of those have been strong. They are not expected to hold together as they move south. So we have dry conditions expected for the rest of today, this evening. Looking good out there. Temps in the 80s as we head towards sunset here, and then eventually the 70s after that. But those storm chances will increase dramatically later this week. Those details are coming up.
A Columbia County teacher remains behind bars. Joseph Scalise is accused of sending a sexually suggestive Snapchat message to a former student who just turned 14 years old. Brooke Zonner is on your side, parents, breaking down the school district's policy on teachers and students even being friends on social media in the first place.
It started here on Snapchat.
It was a shock to see it, and I saw it on social media.
And social media is what investigators say put this Harlem middle school teacher and coach behind bars. 46-year-old Joseph Scalise is accused of sending inappropriate Snapchats to a former student who deputies say is 14 years old. One of the text messages read, "I'm still wondering how that cake emoji looks," or "Are you chicken?" Deputies say cake is slang for your backside.
It could be a neighbor, it could be anybody, and that's why parents have to be so vigilant with the social media apps.
Investigator Daniel Gaston deals with cases like this. About 90% of his own cases start with interactions on apps like Snapchat.
With Facebook, there's 1 billion people using it. I mean, 1 billion people, and you're trying to protect your child.
Columbia County school systems employees follow this handbook. It has a policy on social media, which says they must maintain a professional relationship between teachers and students. Read further, it also shows the role of employee and students online. While it does not specifically say teachers can't interact with students, it does say any employee communications or relationships via social media should be appropriate and professional.
It goes back to parents need to be responsible for what their children are on and what their children are doing on those apps.
It's a great community, but none of us are immune to it. You know, not the biggest cities, not the smallest.
Brooke Zonner, on your side.
Investigators say, especially with apps like Snapchat, you should know your children's logins because there's really no way to monitor it other than that. And you should know everyone your child is talking to. New at 5:30, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster is coming to Aiken tomorrow to sign the Highway Workers Safety Act. It's to stiffen penalties for traffic offenses in work zones. The act comes after 2 SCDOT workers were killed in a hit-and-run accident back in March. Anthony Redmond and Robert Clark were working on a road in Clearwater when investigators say Lonnie Miller hit them with his car and drove away. He was denied bond back in March. The governor also signing several measures to nix budget items. McMaster says he's reluctantly vetoing more than $20 million for new school buses in the state, saying lawmakers should not have slated money from the lottery to buy or lease them. He's also restoring nearly $17 million for the state conservation bank. Good news for folks in Bamberg and Barnwell counties. The state has approved funding for an $8.9 million 24-hour emergency room to service those counties. The announcement comes after Barnwell's hospital closed back in January of last year. South Carolina Representative Justin Bamberg says, quote, after 5 years of no emergency care in Bamberg County and the last few years with none in Barnwell, this is a substantial step forward. A traffic nightmare in North Augusta this afternoon. Investigators say they're not sure what caused the driver of a Toyota SUV that was hauling a boat to drive into another SUV sitting at the intersection of Georgia Avenue and Martintown Road, right in front of McDonald's. That vehicle was pushed into a Richmond County patrol car, and the boat hit a 4th car. So far, no charges have been filed. 2 people were taken to the hospital to be treated for injuries. The area of Central Avenue, Meg Street, and Kingsway is back open this evening after a sinkhole opened up nearly 3 weeks ago. That hole swallowed a trash truck and caused traffic detours. It also led to city workers discovering even more vulnerable spots beneath the roads you drive every day. Coming up at 6 o'clock, what crews are doing to keep you safe on the streets. Saturday marks 2 years since Dylan Roof shot and killed 9 people as they worshiped at a Charleston church. And today, the head of police in the city announced he's retiring. Chief Greg Mullen says the time is right now that the investigation into Roof has wrapped up. He says he's proud of the illumination project that brought officers and the community together to come up with ways to better communicate and bridge that gap with community and police. First Comey, now Sessions. Another big day on Capitol Hill as the Attorney General takes the hot seat to answer senators' questions about the Russia investigation.
And severe weather happening now from the Texas Panhandle all the way up to the upper Midwest, including tornado warnings. Down here in Georgia, Carolina, it's a nice summer day. We'll talk about our storm chances increasing through the week straight ahead.